Hey, good evening, everyone. And we're here tonight with Lyn Buchanan. We're going to talk about what makes a good remote viewing target. Hi, Lyn.
Howdy.
Lyn and I were talking before we got together this evening, and essentially what I wanted to try and get a little conversation built around is now we've had some people out talking up and introducing the concept of remote viewing to people who've never heard it before, and some of them are interested and they would like to have us view some sessions for them. I think it's really neat, and they don't really understand it, but they'd like to have an example. So if they wanted to have us do a session, and it didn't need to be the most profound question in the whole world, how would they know what they would like us to view? What would make a good remote viewing target? What is a well-formed question to a psychic? Why wouldn't we want 5 rectangular type objects in an envelope and pick the best one? Or why just a cat, on a windowsill? Those are some of the questions that I had that I thought possibly you could address tonight, Lyn, and it would help people understand a little bit better what a target is. That is a holdover from the remote viewing terminology from the military, but Courtney and I were talking about it the other day, and he thinks that we just need to not worry about the semantics and get on with it. So anyway, that being said, go ahead and chime in here anytime. And if you want, I can pull up Remote Viewer or crviewer.com, your website, and we can scroll through your terminology or your analogies or whatever you think might be appropriate to what we're trying to speak to this evening.
Okay. The fact is that not everything is a good remote viewing target simply because there are limits to what CRV can do, and the reason for that is that there are limits to what the mind can do. For one thing, anything that you will tend to turn your eyes away from, you'll tend to turn your mind away from too. And so things like blood and guts and murder and mayhem and things like that, unless you're specially trained for it, you're not going to view those things. And if you're not especially trained for it and somebody springs one of those on you, the emotional reaction to it is something that's going to stick with you. So you don't want to do that unless you have a highly trained, controlled remote viewer. You don't give people blood and gut targets. The World Trade Center, things like that, airplane crashes where everybody dies in flames and all this other stuff. You just don't do that. That's out of consideration for the viewer. Also, anything that bores you consciously is going to tend to bore your subconscious mind too. And so, let's say a football match is interesting to you, it'll make a good target. A vase sitting on a shelf, you could care less about that. It's not going to make a good target. And so the rule for picking a good target is generally pick a target that has interesting what's called gestalts. There's landiness, there's man-madiness, there's wateriness, there's spaciness and things like that. Things where it's a rich target. It's not just a pencil on a table or something. And you have also colors, smells, taste, textures, somehow to interact with the target to get it available to your senses. A target that smells good is better than a target that has no smell at all. A target that has sound, interesting sounds, is better than a target that just sits there and is quiet. one seemingly exception to this is basically a cat. When I started doing the targets of the week, we put up a target each week. Or I'm behind on them now, but I get targets that are interesting and that have feedback for all different levels of remote viewers. Well, I had asked people to send me potential targets of the week, and I told my wife, watch, I'll bet the first thing they send me is a cat. And sure enough, the first thing that came in was a cat sound asleep on a couch, and there's nothing to view. You know, it's sound asleep for one thing, and even awake. A cat doesn't care about you, and it doesn't generally know that you're there unless it's hungry. And basically, as far as controlled remote viewing, well, as far as remote viewing goes, a cat is just sort of a hole in the universe. And so they don't make good targets. Vases on shelves and so on. However, having said that, there's also another thing called entropy. And we notice change more than we notice steady things. You know, you go outside and it's cold, you feel the cold, but once you get used to the cold, you don't tend to feel it anymore. And same with going back in the house where it's warm, and then you don't feel that anymore. But the the thing is, while you're sitting there doing a remote viewing session, let's say you're working in a quiet place, you're at your table, there's nothing going on in the house and all that. A target that is not changed very much from your working environment is hard to view. If you're working in, you're doing your session in a busy airport terminal, then a quiet target is much easier to view because there's a big difference, there's a change. And so in the quiet place, it's the active targets that are easier to view than the quieter targets. And so all of a sudden you can start seeing that the picking of a target is not just a simple thing where you just grab a magazine, yank out a picture, and there's your target. It's also not a thing where you say to a beginning viewer who is has no experience whatever, you know, the target is this murdered child or this missing child that was abducted by a serial killer, and go find it. You know, you don't do that. And so the rules for picking a target can get complex. We have generally knocked it down to 5 general rules. 1, gestalts. The word gestalt is not a remote viewing term, even though that's where the place you're going to hear it most these days. But it means the basic quality of a target, like wateriness, landiness, and so on, man-madiness, and so on. So you select a target that has several things in it: water, land, something man-made, some kind of activity going on, something like that. This tends to make a good target. You pick a target that has a lot of sensories and you know, things to feel, things to hear, things to smell, taste, touch, textures, and different colors, wide variety of colors. You pick one that has several different dimensions, like round things, tall things, square things, wide, short, and a mixture of these things so that the viewer can zero in on these things that are of interest to the viewer. Here again, you're getting back to the thing that anything that's boring to a viewer's conscious mind is going to be boring to their subconscious too. And so you try to provide things that are of interest. And the 4th thing is that the target have at least a purpose. I mean, you know, you get the woods in the fall, and here are all these beautiful colors and everything else, and all these trees. First of all, you have gestalts. You have you know, mountains, you have trees, you have growing things, you have sunlight, you have all this other stuff. You have the smells, the sensories, the smells, the tastes, the textures, the sounds of the wind blowing through the trees and all that. And dimensions, you have the mountain shapes, you have the flat ground, you have the tall trees and everything. But God knows why he put that thing there. You don't. And so you actually have no sense of purpose. Why is it there? And the fifth thing that we require is that a target be not negatively emotional and that it would cause negative emotions within a viewer, because those emotions stay with the viewer after they finish the session. And so you give them blood and guts targets and things like that. It's going to affect them long after they have finished doing the session. And we have developed a process called detoxification where you can get rid of those emotions, but it's a lengthy process and it's fairly complex in and of itself. So anyway, let me just sum up a real quick overview here of what's a good target. A good target has a lot of different things to it, a lot of different sensories, a lot of different emotions, dimensions, also at least one purpose, and does not have negative emotions to it that are going to affect the viewer when they experience it. And if you can get something that that meets those 5 criteria, then 99% of the time you have selected a really good target. Now again, if that target is a busy target and you're working in a busy place, it may be a hard target, but it's still going to be a good target. If that target is a quiet, peaceful target and you're working in a quiet, peaceful place, it will make it harder to view, but it'll still be a good target. And so sometimes you have to figure what the setting is going to be in order, you know, when you pick a target, you have to figure out how the viewer is going to work it. You also may have to figure out what the viewer is sensitive to, what the viewer is interested in, what the viewer is afraid of. Let's say the viewer is afraid of heights. A picture of a guy parasailing off of a tall building. Look at it this way. It has the building, it has the motion, it has the air, it has the space, everything. It has sensories, it has dimensions, it has a purpose. But the emotion of it, while it may be fun to you, may be negative to the viewer. And so sometimes you have to tailor-make targets according to the viewer itself. And so, like I say, this is not always an easy process, and it takes good training to pick a good target. The thing to remember is that just because it's a pretty picture doesn't mean it's a nice target, a good target. One of the things that we provide is a thing called the P2IT exercise, and that's on the main page of our website, P2IT and P4IT, where we show you a picture and we say, describe it in terms of the gestalts, the wateriness, the landiness, and things like that. Describe it in terms of sensories, describe it in terms of dimensions and purpose, and also emotions. And Teresa has brought this up. If you'll click on any one of those targets there, Teresa, target 11.
And
okay,
we pulled
look at
up
this.
a cat.
Of course, a cat. But look at the thing down below. You've got the crowd down there taking pictures of these 2 cats, and they seem to all be Japanese people.
Actually,
and
there are 3 cats, I think.
Oh yeah, 3 cats. Okay, and and you've got the colors, you've got the cherry blossoms in bloom, and so you've got the smells, you've got the shapes, you've got the excitement, you've got the activity going on down below, and you may find that most viewers will focus in on the activity and they'll just completely ignore the cats. And they'll focus in on the trees and all that. But even though you might not get the cats in this picture, you will still, if you were viewing this in a remote viewing session, you would get all the colors, the smells, the tastes, the textures, the activity, the sounds, everything else, and the shapes and the sizes, and you know, the relative sizes between the trees and all that. You would get the sunny activity of the day. You would get this daylight, and so you know, you would be able to view this target. If this target were nothing but a close-in picture of those cats just sitting there on the limb doing nothing, there would be very little to view. You would get animal, fuzzy feel, texture, maybe a purring sound, and your session would be over. That'd be it. You know, and so the fact that this also shows the people down below taking pictures of the cats up in the tree and all, this allows this to be an acceptable target. But like for this one, this is just for you to put these phase 2-its are just for you to pull up and start describing these in terms of what's there, the sensories, the smells, the colors, the taste, the textures, and everything else. Target 14. Okay, here's activity. Guys coming home from war and the family going out to meet them. And I mean, this has activity. This has positive emotion to it. This has the land, it has the gestalts, it has the humans, it has the you know, the city in the background and the trees in the background and all that. It has the sunshine, it has the in this one the main thing is the activity, and it has the colors, the smells, everything. This would make a good target. It also has a purpose, and so this would make a good target. Now, like I say, these pictures here are just for you to pull up and describe in terms of those 5 things. What are the gestalts? What are the sensories? What are the dimensions? What's the purpose? And is there any negative emotion to it? Okay? You want to pick another one? Okay, this, I stuck this one in here to see what people would do with it. This was a change of command ceremony with the German Air Force, and I went to it. I took this picture. You see the people standing at attention. You have the huge area. It's a change of command ceremony for the German Air Force located at the only foreign military installation in the U.S., which is here at Holloman Air Force Base. And they had a band playing. They had planes flying over in formation and everything else to send off the old commander and greet the new commander. And, you know, here he is making his speech saying, "I'm so happy to be here in this dry armpit of the world," and tell everybody how happy he is to be here. But where I was standing in this hangar, that's what it is, I happened to look up after I saw the picture and looked up, and I went back and checked it out. The windows are warped in such a way that if you stand in one spot, you see an ET up there looking down. And, you know, the...
oh, I clicked on it. There we go.
Oh, there you go.
Can you see my cursor on it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right there?
And you know, Holloman Air Force Base is where they brought the ETs from Roswell back in, what, 49 was it? And it was to one of these hangars that's now occupied by the Germans, and so I thought this was a really neat thing. All that is reflection on the warped glass of that window up there. But I wanted to see, you know, just how many people would pick up on that. Also, this picture was taken right exactly at the exact moment when another person took a picture with their flash. So I caught the flash going off, and it's open out to the right, it's closed in to the left. You've got a military floor for even a hangar, and so you can see how this thing has been waxed and polished thousands of times over the years to where it will, you know, for the rest of eternity, this thing will have a shine to it. And so this has gestalts, it has sensories, it has dimensions, it has a purpose, and there's a positive emotional attitude to this thing. So this passes the test of being a good target. You want to pick another one? Okay. Here is a waterfall that's in, I believe this is in Hawaii. I can't see to the bottom. Yeah. Suddenly, I don't know where it is. Anyway, it's a bridge that's over a waterfall and actually below a waterfall too. And this has man-made, it has water, it has land, it has vegetation, and so there are your gestalts. The sensories, it has the sounds, it has the feel, it has the humidity. It probably has mist going on your face. As you walk across this bridge, you'll get the feeling of height, and yet you'll look up and you're below things, and yet you're so far above things. It's got shapes, dimensions. It has a purpose. The bridge here has a purpose. It's scenic. It's vacation. It's get away from it all. It's surprise, and so on. And therein lie the emotions of the surprise, the beauty. There's not anything negative about this unless the viewer is afraid of heights. And so here again, you have to consider your viewer. So for some viewers, this may be a very bad target. For other viewers, it's a beautiful target. It's a wonderful target. You want to pick another one? Okay, look here. Here's one that might be negative emotion for a lot of people, and yet this guy is perfectly safe. This is sort of optical illusion here. This is really far away from the crowd and the cars in the background and all that. In fact, it's about to fly over the camera. The pilot was having trouble, and so he ejected. The plane went on out into a field and skidded across the field. Nobody was hurt in this. And you've got the gestalts. You definitely have sensories in this. I mean, the noise, the explosion of the canopy going off, the roar of the plane and everything else, and probably the gasp of the crowd and all that. You've got the heat, you've got the motion, you've got everything else. You've got colors, lights, activity, speed, and so on. You've got dimensions. You've got things going up, things going by. You've got the plane shape. You've got, you know, the rounded shape of the canopy and so forth. You've got all kinds of textures. You've got all kinds of temperatures. Purpose, well, it's an air show, and also the purpose is to get out of there safely. And negative emotions, yeah, this one could have negative emotions. And so I use this as a description target, you know, to practice describing, but this is one that I would really have second and third thoughts about for giving it as a remote viewing target, because this would be scary to so many people. And so that's why it's here and not as one of the targets of the week.
And Lyn, could we go over and look at some of the targets of the week? You have front loading there.
Sure.
And okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
And like, while we're getting there, what is a well-formed question to a psychic? Why is that important?
Okay. The fact is that all psychic functioning, whether it be a controlled remote viewer or an ex-remote viewer, you know, by some homemade method, or a psychic or crystal ball reader, palm reader, whatever, the subconscious mind acts as the conduit for this information to come into the viewer. Okay? The subconscious mind has no problems going back and forth through time and space and all that. I mean, you do it in your dreams all the time. You do it in your daydreams, your imagination, and all that. The subconscious mind doesn't care about time or space. It just goes anywhere it wants. The conscious mind, however, is limited. The conscious mind also keeps trying to govern what the subconscious is telling it. It keeps trying to say, oh, that can't be right, and redefine it and everything else. And so a well-formed question to a psychic puts, first of all, a task to the subconscious mind which basically has no reference to time and space. And so the target is man-made, period. Now, that doesn't tell anything about the target. It doesn't pollute the session or anything else. But it simply tells the subconscious mind, hey, we're going to a targeted man-made. That's all it tells. The second part of a well-formed question to a psychic gives the conscious mind something to do to keep it from interfering, and it gives it in present tense. And so you say, the target is man-made. Describe the target, or describe the man-made, or the target is a location. Describe the location, or you can even say describe what you hear at the location. Give the conscious mind something to keep it busy and keep it out of the way, and give it in present tense. And so you may say to a viewer once they're at the target, go 500 feet above the target and describe what you see. Okay? So there the two part of that command, go 500 feet above the target. And the subconscious mind says, sure, I can do that, and zip, there it goes. Now, describe what you are seeing, present tense. And the conscious mind says, oh, what I'm seeing is so-and-so. By the same token, let's say you go to Madame Matilda, the psychic or something, and you want her to tell you what happened to your Aunt Maud 10 years ago. And so you say to that psychic, my Aunt Maud had, had something bad happen to her, or had something happen to her 10 years ago. Tell me about it. Okay, Madame Matilda will do her magic, and she will come up with her regular amount of information and her regular amount of accuracy. And I talk sort of dismissively about this, but there are some Madame Matildas out there that are pretty good. Let me tell you, they have real talent, and so I'm not putting them down. But they will come out with their regular amount of material and accuracy. However, if you say to that psychic, move back 10 years to where my Aunt Maud is, and tell me what you're seeing now, and what is happening now. The subconscious mind will move back the 10 years to Aunt Maud, and the conscious mind says, oh, what I'm seeing now is, and it'll be present tense, which satisfies the conscious mind. And so what will happen is they will get a whole lot more information, and it will be a whole lot more accurate, simply because you're treating both minds the way it should be treated, and the conscious mind is busy staying out of the subconscious mind's way, and so it's a clearer channel. And this is called a well-formed question to a psychic. The first, you task the subconscious, then you give the conscious mind something to do, present tense, and you let it run, just like that. Okay, target index. She clicked on a target here, and the date on this is the 6th year, so 2006, 5th month, May, and the 10th day. And that was a Wednesday. We try to put one up every Wednesday. She clicked on the down arrow here on the drop-down box to see the tasking. Would you do that again? Okay, for basic level, just describe the target as best you can. If you're an intermediate level person with some experience and more training, also describe any objects involved in this target. Okay, and it says the target is an event. Okay, describe the target. Also describe any objects involved. If you're an advanced level student, also produce a timeline of any activities involved. So maybe this one event has a whole series of activities, and that's what we require of the advanced level viewers. Then you get this, you have your coordinates here, and this is how we give remote viewing tasking. We just give you the coordinates, 06, 05, 10, and then we would have your viewer number and so on, and fill it out to another 6-digit numbers that really didn't need to be explained here. And then we would say, okay, the target's an event. If you're a basic student, we'd say, just describe the target. That's it. Now, you do your session. If you want a map for doing dowsing, because a lot of people do dowsing, go ahead and click that. It will come up, and it will say, okay, here's the map, and the target is somewhere on this map. Okay. And so if you're a dowser and you want to do dowsing, then you can do dowsing on this map, and we provide feedback in the feedback as to where on the map it should have been. Go ahead and click back on that. You'll notice here it says feedback. Click here for feedback. Okay, the Albuquerque, New Mexico Hot Air Balloon Festival, and it goes into the festival. It shows pictures. It has just information for basic students. Okay, this is an event. It's a crowded place. It's got big things in it, and the big things are rising up, and there's a lot of people noises, and there's and so on. An intermediate student would be requested to describe any objects that are involved, and so they would start describing the shape, the size, they would pick up on the sounds of the hot air furnace thing that they have inside to blow the hot air into the balloon. They would get more detail and more information. The advanced students would be able to go through the whole event of the Hot Air Balloon Festival, describe the blowing up of the balloons, the launch of the balloons, the flight of the balloons, the landing of the balloons, the nighttime show that they always have called the Balloon Glow, and that's after the balloons land. They get together, they wait for nighttime to fall, and then they fire their furnace things, and it lights up all of the balloons, and it's a really beautiful show. And then down at the bottom of this, for the dowsers, it has the exact location, so you can check your dowsing ability. And we have one of these. We try to have one of these each week. And at the bottom of each one of these, we have references so that if you got more information than we provided feedback for, you can go to these sites and find out if you were right or not. And we have the viewers score these. We have a database for the students that they put their scores in, their accuracy. They list what they're good at, you know, what they got right, what they got wrong, and the database does analysis to tell them what their strengths and weaknesses are. We have all of these, each one dated with a date for Wednesday. You notice I'm up through October of 2010, which means I am now 1 year, November. Okay, I'm now 11 months behind on this thing.
You're catching up.
I am trying. On each one of these targets, it takes me 3 to 5 hours to get a target together that is suitable for every different level of remote viewer and every different type of remote viewing or psychic functioning. And so in all of these, I don't put it up until I have made sure that it's good for controlled remote viewers, for remote viewers who have just made up their own methodology, and for experienced remote viewers, professional psychics, and so on, all the way down to the brand new newbie who just got out of training class yesterday. And so it takes quite a bit of time to make these targets up. That's why I'm almost a year behind. But these targets are all good targets. This is the Kalkar nuclear cooling tower, which has been turned into a sort of a circus type thing. This is one of those go-around things that has the chairs hanging from it, and as that thing spins, the chair actually comes out, and you're swinging out over the top of this cooling tower, with the city out there below you and around you and all. And so this, you know, for a basic viewer, they would have the shape, the sizes, the sounds, and everything else. An intermediate viewer would have much more detail. An advanced viewer could go around this entire circus site and start describing everything that's going on outside the tower, inside the tower, all around, and everything else. And professional level, listen, if you go to a psychic, try giving them one of these targets and seeing what level of information they can come up with. And that's the level of information they're going to come up with when they work for you for anything else, too. But you see here how these chairs are swinging out, and the thing rides all the way up to the top and then swings you out over the edge of the tower. So this one has gestalts, it has sensories, it has dimensionals, sizes, shapes, everything else. It has a purpose for entertainment, for sports and adventure and all that, vacationing and all. It also has an emotional content of happy, but maybe scary as well. And so this is one of those where, you know, you have to know your viewer. If the viewer is afraid of heights, don't give them this target. Simple as that. Okay. I think from all of this, you can probably see that there are definite rules for picking targets. There are bad targets. There is another problem, and let me tell you, this happened to me on a radio show this last Monday. The radio show host said, okay, I want you to describe the front of my house. And I said,
no pressure.
Okay. Oh, no pressure. Well, I mean, this is not a not a hard problem at all. And I mean, we do things like that all the time. But he said, okay, the front of my house. And so he gave me that about a week before the radio show. I started finding all kinds of information about a trailer, and yet he said his house. And so I thought, well, maybe he owns a trailer, but he wants me to describe his house. And so any information about the trailer that seemed to fit the house, I moved over to the house and all that. And on the radio show, I described the house, and then I said, I think you also have a trailer of some kind, and I gave some descriptions of the trailer. And so finally, after I was finished, he said, well, I think you did a pretty bad job because I don't live in a house, I live in a trailer. And so he told his audience, why don't you write in? I think he got about a 30% accuracy on this. And the thing is, the viewing was good. The analysis of the session went on his tasking, and his tasking was a lie. And so even that can can destroy the effectiveness of a remote viewing session. And so there are so many pitfalls to this whole thing. I don't see how we ever get anything done. But this guy was, I think, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but in the tasking that he gave, he said he lived in a house, described the house, and the fact is he didn't live in a house at all. And so the viewing on this, I've gone back over the session. The viewing was great, and most of the viewing was describing a trailer. It was the analysis of it afterwards, based on his saying that he lived in a house, that messed up the report of the session.
And of course, this is home. It would have been different.
If he had said home, I would have zeroed in on the trailer, and that would have been it. But we found out in the military, working for all of these agencies, the CIA, the DIA, and everybody else, that they would try to obfuscate their tasking, and so many times they would tell us totally wrong things. And so then a lot of times, especially if we got everything correct, they would either come out and try to take all of our records from our safes and confiscate them, or else they would come back and they would say, well, we can't give you feedback because you're not cleared for the information you gave us. And so, what are you going to do?
Brilliant.
Anyway, so the selection of targets is not an easy task, not always an easy task. And one thing that you have to realize is that the well-formed question to a psychic comes whenever you give the command to the viewer to get them started on their session, and you always keep it neutral with no pollution, no information about the target, but you simply give their subconscious mind the tasking and then give their conscious mind a job to do to keep it busy, keep it out of the way, keep it from analyzing, keep it from using logic and everything else and emotions. And when you do, you'll generally wind up with a good target. No cats.
And I was just, for the fact that we're just going to be having this recorded for the people who are reading along, I clicked on massive multiple tasking. Because, that along with pollution,
Oh, yeah.
How much information can we give you, and give you all this stuff you have to work around?
If you work with your customer, they're going to try to tell you what they want you to find. This third paragraph here on this page is a real example. Expected event was classified, so I had to pull it out. But this came from a general. Will the expected event happen during the span of this year or next? And if it does happen at all, when and where will the major indicators occur leading up to it? And who will be the people involved? Give any names and descriptors you can get. If it doesn't happen, what factors will contribute to it not happening, and what else will happen in its place? And he said, can you have that within an hour? And we said, no. What's your question? You know, give us one question. And don't task us with everything in the world. People who give tasking like that is like the old Cajun father told to his son when they went duck hunting. He said, you got to aim at one duck. You can't aim at the whole sky. You know, and people who give this kind of tasking, who give this kind of target, I mean, they're giving you a year's worth of sessions here. And, you know, what's your one question? And the one question this general had is this going to happen? And we came back with the answer no.
And let's see, there was...
And it didn't, and by the way, it didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
No.
I was looking to see. Here we go. Here's a little chat about pollution.
Yeah. The neutral wording of front loading, when you, okay, let's say you've picked a good target, and it's a good target, and now then you want to ask a viewer to view this target so that you can find out what they're going to get. Okay. Let's say the target is, I don't know, one of those pictures that we looked at. Let's say it's a circus. Okay. Okay. The target is an event. Describe the event. How many events are there in all of mankind's history, and even beyond mankind's history, in the past, the present, and the future? I mean, you have just narrowed the tasking down to one of, you know, quintillion trillions, you know, and so this is not pollution, because you haven't told them anything about the target. You have only told them, okay, the target is a location. Describe the location. Well, that can cover anything in all of time and space, in all of the universe, all over the Earth, the Moon, any planet, and so forth. And so you have told the viewer to describe the location. Now, from this front loading, they have to start off with no other information than that, and that way their imagination doesn't get involved, and so forth. And look at this front loading here. The target is an event. That tells your subconscious mind to go to the targeted event. And your subconscious says, sure, I can do that. And poof, it goes there. Now, present tense, describe the event. What are you seeing now at this event? And you may even have to say to the viewer, now what are you seeing at the event? And all of a sudden the viewer will allow their conscious mind to go match up with the subconscious, which is at the time and the place of the event, and start getting information from the subconscious mind. If you don't give it in this order here, to the subconscious and then to the conscious, present tense, then what's going to happen is the conscious mind is going to try to take over the session, and I don't care how psychic anybody is, their conscious mind is less psychic than a rock. It's the subconscious mind that does all the work. And if the conscious mind keeps getting in the way, you're just going to mess up. That's all you're going to do. Okay.
Just for the heck of it, what is a hard target and what is an esoteric target?
Very good. This came up this week too, in a thing that I just had to put a squelch on. A hard target doesn't mean a difficult target. It means a hard target, something you can touch, something you can bang on, kick, whatever, you know. So it's basically a target that does exist or has existed or will exist, but a physical target. And it's something that there will be absolute feedback on. An esoteric target is something like the shape of Jesus's mustache. You're never going to get feedback on that. Not in this lifetime. They don't have time machines yet. What is, you know, what is going on in the Galactic Council headquarters on the planet Scooby-Doo or something like that? Believe it or not, even teachers out there give things like this to their students, and no matter what the student gets, they pat them on the back and say, yeah, you're a good remote viewer, you got something. Listen, you don't want to go to the teacher. A hard target is one that is a physically real target. And so I give you the coordinates of north 46 degrees, 12 minutes, 8 seconds. East, 12 degrees, 10 minutes, 2 seconds. And I say, those are the physical coordinates of the target. Describe the target. Okay? And then, you know, hey, get up and go there, or else you've got a picture of the place or something. And so you got your feedback. There's a thing called a beacon target, which is worked in different ways, but one of the easiest ways to do it is say, okay, your target is the place you will be at in 2 hours. Describe that target. Then, you know, you've already picked a place. You don't pick a place afterwards. You've already picked a place, and it's a place that you can go to. And then they do their session. Then at exactly 2 hours, you take the viewer and you have them at that target. They have their session in hand, and all of a sudden you score it. You saw this, was it right? You saw this, was it wrong? And so on. And this is what's called a real target. Something like the Galactic Council headquarters on the planet Scooby-Doo. Come on, that's an esoteric target. There is no hard and fast feedback, and so, you know, how are you going to know whether you got anything right or wrong? And this is another thing for picking a target. Pick a hard target. Don't pick an esoteric target. Esoteric targets, you don't learn anything from them. You don't gain anything from them. What a lot of people do is they will go to a trainer, and the trainer will say, okay, we're trying to find the location of the next UFO abduction or something, and the student gets some information. It may be right, it may be wrong, nobody can tell. And so the teacher says, oh yeah, you're a good remote viewer, you're a good remote viewer. And the student all of a sudden says, if I'm a good remote viewer, maybe I can stop this abduction. And so here they are, traveling halfway around the world or something, spending all their money, getting all excited, just, you know, putting their life on hold and everything else over something that there's no way to tell if they're right or not. And so you'll find, well, you'll hear on coast to coast and things like that, different remote viewers who keep saying that they're, 100% correct 100% of the time, and they'll boast and they'll say, I'm always right and I'm teaching the right thing and all this. And they give this information about Sasquatch or cameras on the moon or kill shots from the sun or the stars or something like this. And it's a thing that there's never going to be any feedback on. And so how can you prove them wrong? And this is the gimmick they use to make it sound like they're great remote viewers, because they say things that can't be proven wrong. And from our military background, you just don't do that. If you say that something's right and it's going to happen, then it better happen or else you're wrong. Anyway, so there are a lot of things that really apply to the selection of a target. It should be a hard target, a real-world target that will have feedback. It should be something that has plenty of interest, plenty of gestalts, plenty of sensories, good definable dimensions, and a purpose. And it should not be negatively something that will really adversely affect the viewer who experiences it. You stick to those rules, you're going to have a good target. You don't stick to those rules, you're going to mess your viewer up, or else you're going to bore your viewer to tears, or whatever. And so if you're wanting to do remote viewing, pass those rules along to whoever you have select targets for you. Remember, a pretty picture does not especially mean that it's a good remote viewing target. Okay? That's basically it, I think. I don't know that there's that much else to cover. If you stick to those, you'll be selecting good targets, not only for others, but if you teach those rules to someone else, they'll select good targets for you. It's our very nature that we externalize success and internalize failure. And so somebody gives you a good target and you have a good session, you tend to say, oh man, this remote viewing stuff, this is great. But somebody gives you a real pig slop target and you mess up on it because it's just boring, or it's esoteric and there's no way to prove you were right or anything. It's your tendency to say, oh, I'm no good. And so you externalize success, you internalize failure, and people beat themselves up all the time over these targets, when actually the problem is probably the target was ill chosen.
And is there any reason why, if you were going to say just explore remote viewing, you'd never had anything to do it before, and you wanted some viewers to view a target for you? So you have five rectangular shaped structures, man-made, whatever, all in the same envelope. Is that a good idea?
No, because it's like that massive multiple tasking. Which one are you going to view? Also, when you get your feedback, you're going to take out all 5 of those buildings and look at them, and they will, to your subconscious mind, they're all going to be your feedback. And so you take one target in one envelope, you stick each one of these pictures into a separate envelope, you shuffle them up, or somebody else sticks pictures into an envelope, you shuffle them up so that you don't know which one you're going to get, pull an envelope, describe what's in it, what's in the picture, and then open up the envelope, look at the picture, and see how you did. It's a very simple process.
No tricks.
No tricks, yeah. And you have to learn to be able to trust the person who picks targets for you. I have learned the hard way to when I give a demo in class, to take a stack of targets, have someone in the room say 10th one down from the top or something like that. I count down there. I pull it out myself because I've found out the hard way that a student will think, oh, I'm going to trick him, and will pull out the wrong target. And here you're describing the 10th one down, or I'm describing the 10th one down, and they're showing the wrong target around to everybody. And so, you know, you've got to be able to trust your tasker. And so when somebody says the 10th one down, I intentionally look away, and with my fingers I count the 10th target down. I pull it out, separate it from the target pool, because I don't know if you saw that, the title of that thing is called Muddying the Target Pool. And I pull it away from the other targets. I shove that whole stack of targets off to the side, and then I view the target that is face down. And at the end of the demonstration, you know, my reputation as a teacher hangs on the balance here. And I say, okay, here's what I found out about this target. Now, take a look at the target and see how I did.
I'm just bringing these up, these analogies up, just
yeah,
to touch on for the recording, just to say that they're there and how valuable they are.
Yeah, we have a lot of analogies on the target site. Some of the principles of remote viewing go beyond just simple rules, and the theory and the principles of remote viewing can get very complex. And we have found that the best way to explain these in-depth things is to explain them by use of analogies, symbolism, and so on. And if you read the story and you get the analogy, then it has the meaning of the analogy down below that. And so then it explains the analogy, but in the process of reading the analogy, you've also gotten deeper things than you can find in the explanation. You've got an understanding of the theory behind remote viewing. So we have a lot of these analogies. They're there for anybody to look at, and they will teach you an awful lot about the process of controlled remote viewing.
The fact that this is the librarian, asking the librarian for a book, it sort of shifts that, it gives the person some kind of a association for the subconscious is like a huge library.
Yeah.
And like this, I want a copy of War and Peace. Would you go get it for me, please? Please, I want to get a copy of War and Peace. Please get me a copy of War and Peace. Please, I need a copy of War and Peace. Please get me a copy of War and Peace.
Yeah, and you keep asking, and
they're waiting for you to shut up.
That's right, and you keep asking, work with your conscious mind. You're not going to get anything. But you say to the librarian, "I'd like a copy of War and Peace," and you go sit down at a table. If the librarian is your subconscious mind, the copy of War and Peace will be there before you get to sit down comfortably. And it's the same way when remote viewing. Let's say you physically cue yourself by simply tapping the coordinates, or the, let's say you've said there's something square. You say, okay, tell me about something square, and you tap the word square, and you go down and get ready to write. And by the time you get your hand down there, you'll have something to write. Whereas a lot of people will sit there and tap the word and tap the word and tap the word and tap the word and just continue asking the librarian, give me something, give me something, give me something. And the librarian's going to wait for you to go down and get ready to write. You know, it's going to wait for you to shut up.
Yeah, I bet that's great. And, it gives the picture that the subconscious is like a big library. It's like a pool. Just ask it a question. Say, I'll go wait over there.
Well, it's also shows part of the theory of controlled remote viewing is that the librarian doesn't know every word of the text of War and Peace. But the librarian has access to the book. Your subconscious doesn't know everything, but through what, the collective unconscious, who knows, it has access to everything. And so basically what happens in a controlled remote viewing session is you ask a question to your subconscious mind, and then it goes out and gets the information, brings it back, and gives it to you for you to write down. And so basically a CRV session is a interview and report process. And you're interviewing the person who doesn't know the answer, but who has access to it. This is one of the deeper theories about controlled remote viewing. And if you go at a controlled remote viewing session in that way, it works.
Yeah. And if nothing else, if we're 10:15, and I think this has been a great learning evening for everybody.
Well, I hope so.
The analogy of the president of the company, it talks about the subconscious and the conscious, and
the president.
Yeah.
The analogy of the president of the subconscious of the company is the central analogy to the entire controlled remote viewing process. So that one analogy, the president of the company, will teach you the whole basic theory about the controlled remote viewing process. Then these other analogies go into some of the deeper analogies and deeper understandings of it. But that president of the company analogy, that's the basic one to controlled remote viewing.
Well, do you think we should wrap up the evening with that then?
I think so. I hope we haven't bored everybody.
Oh, no, I don't think so. I think that go ahead, and if you want to, oh, darn it, didn't mean to click it off. There we go. I was just trying to resize it a little bit here.
Yeah, we might ask if there were any questions.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, I think you can dump all that and go back to the main screen of the meeting here.
Okay. Anyway, the main analogy, or the president of the company, did you want to say anything about that, or?
No, just refer people to it. It doesn't specifically talk about, target selection, which is what we're talking about here now.
Okay.
So I think I'd find out if there were any questions.
Well, I will try to do that. If I can get us back.
You found it.
Go.
Okay.
We're back. Nobody is muted, so please feel free to ask any questions or text them in.
I don't have a question related to the tasking and targeting, but I was still curious if Lyn or yourself would be possibly in the future doing training for online for intermediate or beginner or advanced.
The answer is yes. My wife her health is going downhill, and so I've started calling off classes, especially classes over in Europe and Australia and Japan and so forth, and just giving those to other trainers. But I'm developing online courses, and right now we're developing the basic course online. I'm being an awful stickler about it. I refuse to let the quality go, and I refuse to have one of these classes like you get, in college, where you pull up pages, read them, take a test, and all that. Then the professor is there to answer questions if you have them. I want personalized training, and to get that over the internet, I'm having to do my own programming. But we're hoping to have a basic course finished and ready by February or March, and the fact that I'm having to do all the programming myself is what's slowing everything down. But once we get that one course finished, then it will be very easy to move the material from the other courses into the programming, and basically I will have programmed for all of the courses. And so hopefully this year we're going to, this coming year, we're going to have full online classes for everyone. It'll save them travel costs, expenses for lodging, expenses for plane fares, which are ridiculous, and it'll also open it up to anywhere in the world, because I can make my own schedule, and if I have to get up at midnight or 3 in the morning to teach a class in Russia, well, that's fine. I can do that. I don't care. I think this online classes are going to be actually even much better than the classes we have right here in the house. So the answer is yes. I'm working on these, and hopefully we're going to have them up by very early spring.
And we have a question, can anyone use your website? A very good session. I learned a lot, and thank you.
Oh, good. Okay. Yes, anyone can use the website. And, the targets are there. Also, those practice targets, those practice pictures, just at random, pull them up and describe them. And it teaches you how to see things at a target that you wouldn't normally see. Also, not hawking my book here, but in the back of my book, The Seventh Sense, there's an appendix that has the exercises that make you more sensitive and more attentive to the things around you and the world around you. The purpose for that is, if you can't see what's in front of your eyes, then how are we going to send you halfway around the world, send your mind halfway around the world and have you see anything there? And so what we do is we train you to become so super sensitive to your own environment, and then we send your mind halfway around the world, and believe me, you're super sensitive. You can pick up information that the best psychics in the world will miss because they're just not attuned to it. So those are the exercises. They're in the back of the book, and I'm hoping to get them up onto the website. But the targets on the website, the only thing that is not available to the public on the website are the databases, and those are for students and the operational people that we have, and they are personal information, the track records and the strengths and weaknesses of each individual viewer, and so we don't make those open to the public. If you go to Amazon, you can get probably, I think, the first chapter of, Appendix 4. Oh, what do you know? Okay.
And yet, I was roaming around in here earlier this evening just to see if we could do the entire presentation from the book, and something from like page 150 to 180 or something. I don't know why they chose those, but you can't get right smack in the middle.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to get how to word a question to a well-formed question to a psychic, and I couldn't get that. So.
Yeah. And I think right in there is the thing on Gaddafi, where I hear that. See, Gaddafi was trying to sue the United Nations and the United States for bombing his home, which should never have been done. And he had a good case. And I hear that because of what he read in the book there, he called off the lawsuit and quit. Anyway, yeah, The Seventh Sense is a good book. It doesn't teach you how to remote view because that would take 20 volumes. But it will tell you about the remote viewing that we did in the U.S. military, and if it has the appendices in there, then you can just go there and read the exercises, print them out, and
it has them.
Oh, good deal. Okay, so go there, print them out, and start doing those exercises. And what you'll find is you become extremely sensitive and aware of the world around you. I've had a lot of people who have gone through this training who call me back and say things like, I'm 40 years old and this is the first time in my life I've been truly awake. They see things that were impossible to see and that the people around them don't see. They make connections in their mind, logical and feeling connections that other people just aren't sensitive enough to make. So anyway, that appendix is a good reference to teach you how to become more sensitive to the things around you, and then when you learn remote viewing, you will be sensitive to the things that are around you at the target as well. Anyway, that's enough of that. But yes, I'm planning online training. Was there anything else?
I think that probably pretty much covers it. I'm just trying to get us back here. Here we go.
Okay, there you go.
Here we are. Okay, well, you covered a lot of teaching material tonight. We've been going for about an hour, not quite an hour and a half, but I think it was well worth it. I hope it wasn't too taxing for you.
Oh, no.
Dragging you around and making you talk.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I hope it wasn't too taxing on the people listening.
Well, if they choose to listen, then they're wanting to be here. So
okay,
thank
good.
you very much, and I think we should probably wrap it up.
Yeah,
okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Good night, everybody, and we'll keep you posted, and hopefully we'll be having some more of these sessions soon.
Yeah,
Thanks
and
again,
for anybody who has questions, our email address is on the website. Just drop me a line, and I'll try to get them answered.
Good night, everybody. Thanks
Good night.
again for coming.